Picture this. Minute 0. An AI agent opens a pull request. Day 7. It's still sitting there. Nobody's reviewed it. The AI wrote that code in 4 minutes, and it's been waiting on a human for a week. And here's the thing. 90% of us now use these tools, the typical developer, for 2 hours a day. And most of us would swear we're shipping faster. So where's the time going? That's what I want to chase down today. We're going to follow the code after it's written, through the review queue, past your own broken sense of speed, all the way to what actually fixes this. Because the real story isn't the writing. It's what happens next. Okay, here's the number that kicked off this whole investigation. In May 2026, SD Times published an enterprise analysis of AI-generated pull requests, and it found they wait roughly 4 to 6 times longer for human review than code written by people. Sit with that for a second. The code that was fastest to create is the slowest to ship. Generation takes minutes, trust takes a week. And that gap between how fast the machine writes and how fast a human signs off, that's the whole video. First though, let's get a sense of how mainstream this is, because it stopped being an early adopter story a while ago. The 2025 DORA report, one of the biggest ongoing studies of software delivery, found AI adoption has hit 90% of software development professionals. That's up 14% in a single year. And we're not talking casual use either. The median developer now spends 2 hours a day working with these tools. As for how everyone feels about it, over 80% report productivity gains, and 59% say AI is having a positive impact on their code quality. Sounds like a solved problem, right? Except look at the verbs in those last 2 stats. Report, say, those are feelings, not measurements. And it turns out the feeling and the stopwatch disagree badly. So in 2025, a research group called METR ran the kind of study this field almost never gets. An actual randomized controlled trial. Not a survey, not a vibe check, an experiment. 16 experienced open source developers. 246 real tasks in mature code bases those developers knew deeply. Every task got randomly assigned, AI tools allowed or not allowed. Then METR measured how long the work actually took. And separately, this is the part that matters. They asked the developers how much they thought AI had helped. That's where it gets uncomfortable. When AI was allowed, those experienced developers were 19% slower. Not faster, slower. But honestly, the slowdown isn't even the scary part. The same developers estimated AI had sped them up by about 20%. That's nearly a 40-point gap between perception and reality. Now, one caveat, and it stays on screen the whole time we talk about this. The result is scoped. Early 2025 tools. Experienced developers. Familiar, mature code bases they knew inside out. It does not say AI slows everyone down, and it doesn't say the tools are useless. What it says is sharper and honestly more useful. Your internal speedometer is broken. You can't feel your way to the truth about whether AI is making your team faster. So we have to follow the time instead and find out where it's actually going. All right, let's trace the pipeline. Writing the code? Minutes. That stage genuinely got faster, no argument there. But a pull request doesn't ship when it's written. It ships when someone trusts it. And that's exactly where the queue backs up. SD Times found AI-generated pull requests waiting roughly 4 to 6 times longer for human review. Why? The analysis points to reviewers being asked to verify more code, arriving faster, that no colleague can fully vouch for. And there's a second problem stacking right on top of the first one. The same analysis found AI-generated code introduces 15 to 18% more security vulnerabilities. So reviewers aren't just facing more code, they're facing code that statistically deserves more scrutiny, not less. Faster generation, heavier verification. The bottleneck didn't disappear when AI got good at writing code. It just moved downstream from writing to trusting. Now play this forward. Picture a team that keeps optimizing the fun part. The prompts, the models, the tokens per second, and never touches the review side. Every sprint, more code enters the queue than leaves it. And here's the trap. Your adoption dashboard looks amazing the whole time. Usage is up, satisfaction's up. Everyone reports feeling faster. The metric you're tracking is measuring enthusiasm. Meanwhile, the thing that's actually growing is a backlog of unverified code, and it's growing quietly. Here's my read on what those two SD times numbers mean together, and I want to label this clearly as interpretation, because it's analysis, not a measured finding. If unreviewed volume is waiting 4 to 6 times longer, and that code carries 15 to 18% more security vulnerabilities, then the queue isn't just a delay anymore. The queue itself becomes a place where risk accumulates. Every day a vulnerable change sits unreviewed is a day it's one distracted approval away from production. And that's why the SD times analysis lands where it does. Stop tracking adoption alone. Invest in governance, automated review, and security guardrails. The machinery of trust, not just the machinery of generation. So we've got a perception gap, a review pileup, and a risk queue. Here's the one mental model that explains all three, and it's the central finding of the 2025 DORA report. AI is an amplifier, not a fix. It magnifies whatever your organization already is. Was your review process a little slow before AI? Well, now AI is feeding it more code, so it's very slow. Were your security practices a little leaky? AI scales the leak. And the flip side is just as true. Teams with strong systems get the gains everyone was promised. That's why DORA found the biggest returns come not from the tools themselves, but from improving the underlying development system, the platforms, the workflows, the review processes the AI plugs into. Buying a faster code generator doesn't fix a slow pipeline. It stress tests it. So what does a working division of labor actually look like? Anthropic analyzed around 400,000 real Claude code sessions, not a survey. Actual usage and a clear pattern fell out of the data. Humans make most of the planning decisions. What to build, what the constraints are, what done means. The AI makes most of the execution decisions, how to implement it. And that's the shape that works. Humans own intent. AI owns implementation. Then a third thing owns trust the system around both. Automated review as a guardrail, and I mean one guardrail among several, not the whole answer. Security scanning in the pipeline, governance that decides what needs a human's eyes and what doesn't. That's the engineer in the loop playbook. People decide what, AI decides how, and the system decides what to trust. And the final discipline ties right back to where we started. Measure, don't vibe. The METR study is standing proof that a whole team can feel 20% faster while actually moving slower, at least for experienced developers on code bases they know well. So the number to watch isn't adoption, and it isn't how fast the code appears on screen. It's actual cycle time. The clock from the moment a pull request opens to the moment it merges. If AI is genuinely working for you, that number falls. If the queue's quietly eating your gains, that number tells you before an incident does. So here's your homework, and it takes about 10 minutes. Pull up your last 20 merged pull requests and time the gap between opened and first review. Then compare the AI-heavy ones against the rest. The published benchmark is 4 to 6 times longer. Where does your team land? Drop your number in the comments. I genuinely want to see the spread across real teams. And if this changed how you think about AI speed, send it to whoever runs your engineering process, because they're the one who can actually move the bottleneck. Subscribe for more of the system story behind the AI hype cycle. The constraint moved from generation to verification. Go measure yours.